All right, we're going to continue on with our lesson on circumference and area of circles. So what we're going to do now is we did several problems, so we're now going to turn our attention to a different type of problem. Let's talk a little bit about area. First of all, I just want to work a simple problem. If you will draw this circle, and if you will draw a radius going through halfway, and let's put that as 5 inches. We know our formula is area equals pi r squared. Now, first of all, this problem I'm doing right now has absolutely nothing to do with this problem. So just forget this problem right now. We're going to come to it in just a minute. With area, it's pi times radius squared. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do the radius squared, then multiply that value times pi. So we have to use order of operations because exponents come first. So we do the exponents and everything else. So we're going to use the formula pi r squared. We know right here 5 equals the radius. We know pi equals 3.14. So I'm going to substitute 3.14. Our radius is 5, so I'm going to say 5 squared. We know 5 squared means 5 times 5, so 5 times 5 is 25. And then we're going to multiply 25 times 3.14. So if you'll multiply 25 times 3.14, and I apologize, that should not be 5 right there. That should be a 4 right there. So 3.14 times 25, you should get 78.5. And my board's messing up again, so give me 1 second. Let's turn it off and turn it right back on. So when you multiply 3.14 times 25, you would get 78.5 inches. So that would be the area of that circle. And whenever we do area, we put a little exponent of 2 for inches squared. Now, in this particular problem I just did, we substituted 3.14 for pi. That's what you always do. But what I want you to now focus on is this problem that was given to you on this page. So I want you to copy this entire part down. I'm going to divide this screen so that we have this original problem in red that I just did. And we're going to now have the problem that was on the page. It says, what is the area of a circle with a radius of 3.2 meters? Leave your answer in terms of pi. What I want you to focus on right now is where it says this right here, in terms of pi. When it says in terms of pi, we do not use 3.14. We do not use 3.14. In terms of pi, that means that instead of using 3.14, we're actually going to use the symbol. So where it says in terms of pi, in the formula, we're going to leave it as just pi. We already know our radius is 3.2 meters. So I'm going to put 3.2. We know that's squared. This is very simple. The only math we have to do is 3.2 squared. When you do 3.2 squared, you would get 10.24. Now, since we don't use 3.14, we use the symbol. We're just going to write it as 10.24 pi. And then let's include the units, meters squared. So when it says in terms of pi, what you're going to do is you're going to actually use the symbol. Do not use 3.14. So in this problem, I used the symbol. I did not use 3.14. So if you will copy this problem down. Let's now move on to the next page. All right. Here's an example of a hurricane. It said the diameter of the eye of a certain hurricane was 30 miles. When you have a hurricane, you have a center portion of the hurricane. That is called the eye. To the nearest square mile, what was the area of the eye? This says use 3.14 for pi. So we are not going to use what's called in terms of pi. So it says use 3.14. So in the problem, we're going to use 3.14. Our formula is pi r squared. what I suggest to you is every time you're working a problem, write the problem out. That way it gives you practice writing it. It also helps you memorize it. We use 3.14 for pi. It says the diameter of the eye of a certain hurricane was 30 miles. So our diameter is 30. In the formula for area, we have to find the radius. So what we have to do is we have to convert the diameter of 30 to the radius. All right? The diameter goes all the way across. So if you have a circle, the diameter is all the way across. So if you have that same circle, what would halfway across be? All we would have to do is divide 30 by 2. So 30 divided by 2, or if you want to write it as a fraction, 30 divided by 2 gives you 15. So our radius is 15. So I'm going to say 15 squared. We're going to multiply 15 times 15, and you get 225. Then we do 225 times 3.14. You will come up with 706, 5/10, and it's in miles, so I'm going to say miles, and I'm going to just put an M for miles, squared. And it says round it to the nearest square mile, so if we round it to the nearest square mile, that means we want to have it as a whole number. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that 6, and we're going to look at the number directly to the right of it. So what that's going to cause us to do is look at that 5. That 5 causes that 6 to round up. So we're going to say 707 miles squared. So I'm going to let you copy that part down. The diameter is 30 miles. We're going to use 3.14. Here's our formula where we've worked it out. And then what our answer is. And here's the information about converting it. All right, go to another one. Bubble netting is a hunting technique used by humpback whales. They blow bubbles in a circular ring that drives fish toward the center of the circle. What is the area of a ring of bubbles 100 feet wide? Use 3.14 for pi. So what I would do is I would just draw a circle here. It says, what is the area of a ring of bubbles 100 feet wide? So here's our ring of bubbles. That's how wide it is, 100 feet. We know area equals pi r squared. It says to use 3.14. Erase that. So 3.14. 100 represents the diameter. So the radius would actually be half of that. So our radius would actually be half of that value. So half of 100 would be 50. So our radius is going to be 50. So in the formula for r, I'm going to put 50 squared. We know 50 squared is 50 times 50, so 50 times 50 gives you 2,500. And then we do 2,500 times 3.14, and you would get 7,850 feet squared. And then here's the information. And then we know we have a ring of bubbles 100 feet wide. All right. One last problem. All I'm doing is giving you example after example, practice after practice of doing this. All right, so one crop circle has a diameter of 40 feet and another has a diameter of 80 feet. Is the area of the larger crop circle twice that of the smaller circle? Justify your answer. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to do is you're going to see 80 feet. You're going to see 40 feet. 80 is twice 40, so you're automatically going to answer yes because it's twice up here. Don't do that. Actually work it out. So what we're going to have to do is work two problems. We're going to have to work one problem dealing with the circle for 80 feet. And we're going to have to work a second problem for the circle with 40 feet. So let's go over here and let's work the first one. So it's pi r squared. It says to use. Doesn't say to use 3.14. It doesn't say to use exact area. So all we're going to do is use what we normally use, 3.14. Our diameter on this first one is 80. So the radius would be half of that. So if our diameter is 80, half of that would be the radius. So our radius would be 40. So what I'm going to do is substitute 40 in for radius. So we would have to square 40. 40 times 40 is 1,600. And then what we're going to do is multiply 3.14 times 1,600, and you will get 5,024, and that is in feet, so feet squared. All right, so our area for the first one is 5,024 feet squared. Now let's go over here and let's do the second one. We might do the same thing. Area equals pi r squared. In this problem, our diameter is 40, which is all the way across. So we have to find the radius, which is halfway across. So our radius, half of 40, is 20, so our radius is 20. Pi is 3.14. Now our radius is 20, so it's 20 squared. 20 to the second power is 400. So we have to multiply 3.14 times 400 is 1,256 feet squared. So our area for the second one is 1,256 feet squared. So we found the area for both the 80-foot diameter circle and the 40-foot diameter circle. What we have to do now is figure out, is the area of the larger crop circle twice that of the smaller circle? All right, so if we take the smaller one and we multiply it by 2, 1,256 divided by 2, 1,256, multiplied by 2, gives you 2,512. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare that to this area up here. It is not the same, so our question says, is the area of the larger crop circle twice that of the smaller circle? And we can compare the answer, so the answer to this is no, it is not. All right, justify your answer. The way we would justify our answer is saying that we took the area of the smaller one, we multiplied it by 2, and then compared and figured out that it was not twice the smaller one. So what we have done, we back up. We have talked about area, which is all the inside space of a shape, in this case circle, is pi r squared. We've talked about circumference, the distance around, is pi times diameter. We know that pi equals 3.14. We know that if we find exact area, or if we find exact circumference, instead of using 3.14, we're actually going to substitute the symbol pi into the problem. So, one last thing before we stop this video is make sure that you have this down, please. Now, let's move on to the next page. I told you there's a little bonus that's going to be given if you watch the video and you pay attention. So what I want to know is, this right here. If you will write that down and give me the answer on Thursday on a piece of paper. Now remember, if I'm going to do work, I'm not going to tell other people what the answer is, so don't tell anybody what the answer is. And if you will give that to me on Thursday, written on a piece of paper, I'm going to give you an extra 100. Now remember, this is not a difficult problem, so the reason people would not get this is if they're not watching the video. So take it and turn it in tomorrow.